Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining in this lesson. Today we are looking at adverbs. In the previous lesson we looked at verbs. Now we take a step further and see words that actually modify verbs, and that's why we are focusing on adverbs. If you haven't seen the previous lessons, lesson 1 up to 5, then please go to my YouTube channel and find those lessons. It is going to make sense to follow me in this lesson. And if you're going to like this lesson, don't forget to give it a like, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get started. So what are adverbs? Adverbs are words that modify a verb, adjective, or other adverbs. They provide additional information about how, when, where, why, or to what extent. But how do they do that? They give us information about how, about when, about where, about why, or to what extent. In doing so, they are modifying verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. When we talk about how, we are talking about manner in which something happened, how something happens. When we talk about when, we are talking about time. When we talk about where, we are talking about place. When we talk about why, we are talking about purpose, why something happens. And then when we talk about to what extent, it could be that we are talking about degree or intensity. Stick around with me and watch this lesson up to the end, because this is meant to unlock all these things. Firstly, when you say she sings beautifully, the word sing is a verb, but we get more information about that word. Beautifully is the manner in which this person sings. So we can see that beautifully adds to the meaning of sings. Therefore, beautifully modifies sings by giving us the manner in which this person sings. That's what we mean, again, when we say they modify. It's just about adding more information or telling us a bit about the verb. Let's see how adverbs modify adjectives. He is very tall. When we look at the word tall, it is describing he, right? And we say that adjectives describe nouns or pronouns. So the adjective tall is being modified by the word very. Therefore, in that sentence, very is an adverb. And what is adverb doing? It is giving us the extent to which this person is tall. The extent to which this person is tall. So we are talking about very tall. Okay, let's look at the last one where we see how adverbs modify other adverbs. She runs quite quickly. If you look at that sentence, the last sentence, you've got she, which is a pronoun, runs, which is a verb, quite, which is an adverb, quickly, which is an adverb. In that sentence, the adverb quickly is modifying the word runs, right? But the word quiet is modifying another adverb, which is quickly. So when you say quiet quickly, quiet is modifying quickly, and quickly is modifying runs in that sentence. So that's how adverbs modify other adverbs in a sentence or in a phrase or a clause. Okay? Let's move on now and begin to look at the different types of adverbs. Let's look at adverbs of time. Words like now, yesterday, soon, later, already, yet, recently. All these words, if you know what they mean, you know that somehow they refer to time. So they are adverbs of time. How do we use them in a sentence? If you say, I will call you tomorrow. So, I will call. The word call is a verb. Tomorrow is when the action of calling happening. So you can see how the verb is connected to that time in a sentence. So, call tomorrow. So, in the first sentence, the adverb tomorrow is modifying or is giving us more information about the time when the call will happen. The call itself is it's a verb. It is an action that will happen. Okay, second sentence. They recently moved to a new house. Now, if you look at they pronoun, recently is an adverb. It is telling us about the time, recent, right? So when you say recently moved, the word moved is a verb. So recently is modifying a verb, but recently is telling us about the time when the moving happened. So you know that when you have a sentence where there is an action and we are told when that action happened, then we are more likely to have the word that is telling us the time to be an adverb in a sentence. Okay, enough about adverbs of time. Let's look at adverbs of place. So adverbs of place answer the question where in a sentence, or they give us more information about where. It could be where something will happen, where someone will go, or in short, just the place where the place of action. Okay, let's look at examples. When you say here, we are talking about a place. There, we are talking about a place. Everywhere, we are talking about a place, which is everywhere. Nearby, outside, up, down, whatever you have which designates a place in this sense. Now, I want you to be careful here not to confuse adverbs of place with nouns. For example, if I say Lusaka, Lusaka is the name of a place, right? Is a name of a place. But in a sentence, it can be used as an adverb of place. Let's look at examples. The children are playing outside. So the action of playing is happening outside. Therefore, outside is an adverb of place. He looked everywhere for his keys. So where did he look? So the looking happened everywhere, right? The looking happened everywhere. So everywhere is an adverb of place in that sentence. I hope this is clear. Let's move on and look at adverbs of manner. Adverbs of manner answer the question how. How did it happen? How will it happen? How is it happening? Those are adverbs of manner. And examples include happily. For example, she got married happily, or she lived happily ever after. I think one of the common sentences that people say when people get married. And then he ran quickly, or he came quickly. Then we have carefully. Now, if you look at most adverbs, as we are going to see, you can see that they are ending in ly. They are ending in ly. But we are going to see how that formula works in this lesson. So stick around. If you have reached this point, just stick around. Let's look at examples. She completed the task carefully. She completed the task carefully. He dances beautifully. You can see all these sentences. They are just telling us the manner in which these actions are happening. For example, the completing of the task was done carefully. How was it done carefully? The dancing was beautifully done. How did he dance? Or how does he dance beautifully? It's the manner in which a person dances. Next, we are looking at adverbs of degree. Adverbs of degree. These answer questions that have to do with to what extent. To what extent. And it could be very, quite, almost, to, enough. When we think about adverbs of degree, I think we can also think about intensifiers. But for now, we are again not going to open that rabbit hole. We are going to come back with a different lesson on intensifiers, but you can see that there is some connection here. Okay, let's look at examples. She is very intelligent. She is very intelligent. So to what extent is she intelligent? Very. So it's the degree, it's the intensity. The movie was quite good. So quite, again, you can see. Now, when you look at that, I think you need to remember at the beginning of the lesson, we said that Adverbs can also modify adjectives. Adverbs can modify adjectives. Now, if you look at the last sentence, we've got the movie was quite good. Let's remove an adverb there, where we can say the movie was good. So the word good is modifying movie, which is a noun. It is the movie that was good, but to what extent was it good? Quite. So quite is modifying good as an adverb, and good is modifying movie as an adjective. That is what is happening in that sentence. If this is clear, let's move on to the next type of adverbs. If it's not clear, the comment section is waiting for you to ask a question, so please just go there and ask a question. Okay, let's talk about mitigators and intensifiers, which I just mentioned on the previous slide. Mitigators reduce the intensity. For example, somewhat, rather, slightly, a little. When you look at these, they are mitigators. Their role is to reduce the intensity. Let's look at examples. The weather is rather cold today. The weather is rather cold today. So when you look at the word rather, it is reducing. It's not too cold or very cold. It's rather cold. They have slightly changed their perspective. They have slightly. So you can see the word slightly there is reducing the intensity. It's a mitigator. Let's look at intensifiers. Intensifiers increase the intensity. So while mitigators reduce the intensity, intensifiers actually increase the intensity, and you can use these in different situations. So let's look at examples. Very, extremely, absolutely, completely. In sentences, how can we use these in sentences? The book is extremely fascinating. The book is extremely fascinating. Alice Springs is completely surrounded by mountains, so you need to visit Alice Springs because we feel like we are protected by mountains. That's how we use mitigators and intensifiers. Now, let's move on and look at adverbs of frequency. Adverbs of frequency. In these adverbs, we are answering the question, how often? How often? Let's look at example. Always, often, sometimes, rarely, never, usually. So these are examples of frequency, how often something happens. Let's see how we can use these in sentences. He always arrives on time. He always arrives on time. I rarely eat fast food. I rarely eat fast food. I sometimes wonder why you love me. I sometimes wonder why you love me. You can see in the first sentence the word always, in the second sentence the word rarely, and the last sentence gives us sometimes. Now, I want here to say something. I know I do these things in all the lessons. I digress and go to other topics because these lessons are really meant for people that are writing their exams. They are meant for people that are in school so that they can begin to see the connections that exist between and among topics. So, I rarely eat fast food. I rarely eat fast food. Sometimes you may be asked to change this sentence. Begin with the word rarely. Do you know where that the topic under which that will fall? Inversion. We are going to look at inversion, so please follow me if you haven't so that you see. Now, you can have rewrites or transformations where you have to rewrite a sentence from I rarely eat fast food. With inversion, you can say, rarely do I eat fast food. Rarely do I eat fast food. So you need to begin to see connections that when we are in inversion or we are learning adverbs of frequency, we can have these sentences, changed, and examiners can pick from any topic to make sure They ask you questions, and you need to know this. I say this because a lot of people don't respect the lessons that I'm teaching, especially the topics that I've started with, the word classes, just knowing about nouns, about verbs, whatever word classes that we are looking at. A lot of people really feel like they need to go to sentences which are abstract, sentences which are advanced and complicated. But I feel this is a foundation that we need to build together. Anyways, that was me digressing. Let me continue and look at adverbs of purpose. With adverbs of purpose, we answer the question why or for what reason. Examples include therefore, so, thus, because, hence. Now, pause again here. If you see these words therefore, there is a topic coming on purpose, there is another topic coming on reason, and if you have downloaded my book, which I have given for free for now, then you see the topics that are coming, because I'm following that book. Like I'm going to cover every topic in that book. You see that there'll be a lesson on reason. For example, I went to town because I wanted to buy this. So you can see that even when you say that sentence giving a reason, you are actually using adverbs of purpose. You are using adverbs which show reason. That's how word classes are connected to advanced structures like purpose and reason. Okay, we move on. Let's look at examples. She studied hard so she could pass the exam. Yes, so what was the purpose of studying hard? To pass the exam. The roads were icy, therefore we stayed home. The roads were icy, therefore we stayed home. I went to town because I wanted to buy shoes. You can see all these sentences that we are looking at adverbs of purpose, but when we use them in sentences, they show us how we can build advanced structures, including purpose, including reason, here on this topic. So yes, adverbs are very small, tiny words, but very important, especially for school-going students. Okay, let's look at how we can focus adverbs in a sentence. How can we just use adverbs in a sentence? We can use adverbs in a sentence to highlight a particular part of that sentence. We have examples there. We can use only, we can use just, we can use even, mainly, particularly as examples. Let's look at how we can use these in a sentence to show adverb focusing or adverb emphasis. Maybe that's another word. How do we just show emphasis using adverbs in a sentence? She only wanted a cup of tea. You can say she wanted a cup of tea, right? But to show that she didn't want other things, you can use an adverb. Just adding one adverb changes the whole meaning of the sentence. I was just about to leave when you called. You can say I was about to leave, but you are not showing what time passed between the time this person called and the person that and the time that you left. But when you say about, you can see that it was almost immediate. So that almost immediate aspect is brought about by an adverb just. That's how we can use adverbs to put emphasis on particular meanings in a sentence. Let's look at negative adverbs. Negative adverbs express negation or limitation. They express negation or limitation. For example, we've got the word not, the word never, the word hardly, the word rarely, the word scarcely. Now, again, you know when you see these words that there is a big topic that's coming that is based on negative adverbs. And I think this is what I have found to be troubling as someone who was teaching, because I never used to do this when I was teaching in secondary school. I never used to show students how word classes connect to other topics, and I feel that if teachers did this, then students will be able to pick up and they'll pay attention to little things like adverbs. So when you see the words rarely, I think all these words here, they are under inversion, and I'm going to teach a lesson on inversion. It's a long topic. If you are going to look at the book, if you haven't downloaded the book, at the moment of teaching this lesson, the book is free and you can download it for free. But again, if you check on my website, it's listed at a price, so I'm giving it for free. Wow. Yeah, I'm just giving it for free to you because you are special. But if you go to my website, it's very much, priced. Yeah, not so much expensive, but yes, it's priced. So I'm doing this so that you can follow me in these lessons. Once I finish these lessons, then I remove the free gift. If you haven't downloaded the book yet, just give me a comment. Just let me know in the comment section, then I'm going to give you a link to download it for free. If at the moment you're watching this video, if I will have not removed it from the free section of the website to the paid section. Okay, so I have never seen such a beautiful sunset. When you use the word never, you are negating that sentence. I could hardly believe the news. All these are just negation of sentences. Let's look at conjunctive adverbs. Again, these are very interesting type of conjunctions, adverbs, because they work as conjunctions. We know that conjunctions are used to connect, ideas in a sentence, and so these adverbs work in a similar way. So they connect ideas or clauses showing relationships like contrast. There's another topic coming on contrast. Cause, there's a topic coming on cause and effect. Then addition. So examples, however, therefore, moreover, consequently, meanwhile, all these fall under conjunctive adverbs. When you say I wanted to go, however, it was raining. So you can see how the two ideas are connected. I wanted to go. You can actually just say I wanted to go, and then you can also say it was raining. But it's good when you use an adverb to connect the two ideas. You can also just say she worked hard, and you can say she was promoted. But when you say she worked hard, therefore she was promoted, she worked hard, consequently she was promoted. I'm also teaching you to use a variety of words when you are speaking or when you are writing, especially if you're a student. When you are writing, use these. If you know that all these are conjunctive adverbs and you have them at your fingertips, you can choose which one is appropriate for the sentence or the kind of sentence that you are writing. Okay, we move on and look at evaluative adverbs. These are very simple. Everyone uses them, and sometimes we don't even know that we have used an adverb. When we say express an opinion or we use evaluative adverbs to express an opinion or judgment. We are doing that when you say, oh, fortunately, luckily, surprisingly, sadly. All these are evaluative adverbs. We use them to evaluate or to give an opinion, or to give a judgment. When you say, surprisingly, I couldn't talk when I met the girl I love. So those are examples. Fortunately, no one was hurt in the accident. No one was hurt in the accident. Surprisingly, the team won the match. Those are examples. Then we've got what we call viewpoint adverbs. These indicate the speaker's perspective. What's your perspective? What's your point of view? Or we just say, what's your point? Right? So when you say personally, it shows your point of view. And what you are going to say, people are not going to generalize it. They are going to say that's your personal view. When you say frankly, you're just talking about maybe honesty or being truthful. And we have honestly, obviously, all these are viewpoints. Let's see how we use them in sentences. Honestly, I don't like the plan. Honestly, I don't like the plan. If you don't like the plan, you say honestly. That honestly is an adverb showing your point of view. And your point of view, at that point, you're just being, truthful. Obviously, she didn't understand the instructions. You can see how we use this. So when you talk about verbs, we're not talking about words that we don't use in real life. And I like teaching these things because for me, I really personally don't feel like I'm teaching new things, but I am teaching consciousness towards these things that people should know at the back of their mind when they speak, that, oh, when I use this word, I'm actually using an adverb. Now, that knowledge is very important for the exam because it helps you to use these words and to identify them in trick situations, especially trick exams. Let's look at relative adverbs. They introduce clauses and relate them to a noun or a pronoun. So they introduce a clause and they relate it to a noun or a pronoun. Let's look at examples. Where, when, why. This is the place where I grew up. You can even say this is the place. And you can say I grew up. Introducing clauses. Where I grew up is a clause. Or I grew up is a clause. I grew up is a clause which is connected to the place, which is a noun. That is what is happening in that sentence. Do you remember the day when we met? Do you remember the day when we met? So we've got a clause. We met. We met. And then we've got day, which is a noun. That's why when is connecting we met to the day, if that person remembers that day. I hope this is not confusing because I am failing to explain it very well, honestly, but I hope you get the point. Let's look at adverbial nouns. Adverbial nouns. These function as adverbs, but they are technically nouns. So these are just nouns. Now, remember at the beginning I talked about Lusaka. I said, if you say John lives in Lusaka, Lusaka is a name of a place. But in this sentence, Lusaka is just a place functioning as an adverb of place. And therefore, because it's a proper noun functioning as an adverb, it's an adverbial noun. Let me repeat that. Let me use an example you can see on the table. Today is the name for the day that we are living on now. I don't know if that's how we can define today, but it's an example. Tomorrow is a name for a day that's coming after today. Yesterday is the day that came before today. Those are names, and therefore they are nouns. But when we use them in sentences like, I will see you tomorrow, it's not just a noun, it's an adverb of time. But because it's a noun working as an adverb, it's called an adverbial noun. I end here. I think this was the best explanation I can give. You can look at other examples and make your own examples. It is going to help. Now, let's look at how adverbs work. We've got regular and irregular verbs. Regular verbs are formed by adding ly to adjectives. So, you can see the connection. When we add ly to adjectives, we form adverbs. For example, quick, which is a regular adjective. We can add ly, it becomes quickly. Happy, happily. Then irregular adverbs, they do not follow this pattern. For example, good becomes well, fast becomes fast, and hard remains hard. So that's the difference. So you need to just take note of how the formation of adverbs happens. We have come to the end of the lesson, and I know it's been a very long lesson. Thank you so much for sticking around. And I believe if you reached this point, it's because you wanted to learn something from this lesson and you liked this lesson. And if you liked it enough to give me a like, why not? This is the time for you to show me that love. And thank you so much for doing that. And most importantly, thank you so much for becoming my subscriber. Please, before you leave, please subscribe. Please subscribe, and subscribe. Thank you so much for doing this for me. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.